This week on the Loud Quiet podcasts these empty nesters love. Hey guys, welcome back to the Loud Quiet. Today we want to talk about favorite podcasts. This is one that we realized, well, we listen to a lot of podcasts, and these are ones that, well, other than, of course, listening to the Loud Quiet, we think y'all might enjoy as well. And so we're going to run through some of our favorite podcasts for you today.
Maybe. I mean, our genres are very different.
You're going to discover that being in the empty nest doesn't mean that you suddenly merge your interests as
not at all.
We list through the podcasts that we have.
Yeah. We thought we'd start by saying the first podcast that we started listening to. And, well, my reason, I started listening during COVID because what were we doing? Walking around the area. I mean, I used to walk all the way down to the tollway, which is a far distance because what else were you going to do besides sit in your house all day? So,
well, I think a lot of folks would answer, well, I sat in my house all day. And...
Yeah. Well, I could not. Plus, at that point, it was, nicer weather. Yeah. So my friend Ashley and we got hooked on this Dr. Death, which actually was a story about a surgeon in the Dallas area.
Oh, okay.
And so it was on Wondery. I can hear the sound the Wondery sound coming on. And so, yes, that occupied my time for a good time. And then they made a show about it as well after that. But yes, that was the first podcast that I started listening to in 2020.
Yeah, that was the era when so many people started listening to podcasts. I mean, most of us, I'd put myself in this category, I didn't know what a podcast was.
Yeah, and to find out that so many people that we meet have had their shows for so much longer before that. But,
I know.
But I think because what was our main form of entertainment? TV. Well, there was no TV being produced.
A lot of the new shows,
it shut down.
Yeah, they couldn't script things.
Yes, they couldn't be on set, so we had to find other forms of entertainment.
And I think the writer's strike had some timing influence around, as it built into that year and all of that. I know that I didn't really know what podcasts were at that time. I still used music as my primary form of entertainment while I was exercising or out or doing those sorts of things. I remember when you started telling me about podcasts, I wasn't a Luddite. I'd heard about them. I didn't even really understand how to access them, how to get tapped into them. Once I finally did, well, of course, I end up choosing the one that is still now the most popular one, or I guess in the top 3, it's Smartless. Smartless was my first ever. And if you don't know which one that is Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett each week bring on a guest, but only one of them knows who the guest is. The other 2 are surprised by that guest, and they just have an hour-long conversation with them. I think I'm a year and a half, maybe 2 years behind, but I'm still listening to almost every episode religiously, trying to catch up to the present day.
Isn't it funny you brought up, music was what we listened to when we were training for our half marathons. It was only music.
Right.
But now, every time I work out, it's podcasts.
Oh, yeah. I can't even.
And the kids are like, I can't believe y'all listen to podcasts while you're working out.
I think there's an age component to this. And it'll take time to see if this holds true. I think about even my own terrestrial radio listening habits. I almost never listen to music on the radio. Yes, I still drive a pickup truck that doesn't have any streaming or CarPlay in it, so I listen to the over-the-air radio. Most of what I listen to is the ticket, and the only time I head over to music is if there's a commercial set. And I don't know if that's just my age, if it's because I haven't found myself plugging into new music quite the same way, and podcasts fill that new content itch. It's just not where the interest rests.
No, well, when in my car, we listen to music. We listen to...
We do, because we don't listen to podcasts together, and we don't listen to the ticket together nearly as much as we did.
Yeah.
Music serves as a great thing in the car when you want it in the background. If we're talking, listening to talk radio is not so easy, But
Yeah.
if we're not talking, like a lot of our road trips where you've plugged into something, well, yeah, I'm listening to the Take It On the Way
And there
Down.
have been trips, like we have listened to some Smartless episodes together
Yeah.
when we were driving back and forth between Phoenix and Tucson.
Yeah.
I know we've done that several times. So
All right, so we promised everybody a
Okay,
list, and
yes.
here we are. Oh gosh, what you mean? You and me go off on a tangent here, but so what is one of your favorite podcasts?
Okay, well, the one I listen to every single day is Jeff Lewis Live. And if you've watched Bravo for any amount of time, he had a show back in the day. I listen to it every day. He has guests on. I like his sense of humor. Some people probably do not. He has a group of followers, and also his co-hosts that he has are called chumps. I am a chump, and I just enjoy
Oh, I'm
it.
so gonna extract that sentence and just use
That's
that.
fine. I like it. I don't
I
care.
am a chump.
And so I enjoy it. He's sarcastic.
Oh, there's times I walk in when you're listening to it, say you're doing something in another room and I walk in, I'll hear something out of context that will make me laugh. Now, sometimes I walk in there and I'm like, what the heck are they talking about?
And there's people that are on his show that I bring you, things, and you're like, oh yeah, I totally relate to that and that kind of thing. So yes, that is one of my shows that I religiously listen to every single day.
Mine and these are in no order. I was trying to force rank them and I just can't force rank them, but I'll start with talking about Prof G Pod. Oh, and all of these will be links in the show notes if you want to go check out any of these episodes. He has several versions of what his podcast is when it comes out. The ones that I listen to probably religiously each week he has 2 different Q&A office hour-y type things. There's 3 questions. He doesn't know what the questions are. They are played for him, either they're recordings or they come in from Reddit, and he answers those questions. There is one that is about business and more in that kind of vein. He actually was somewhere. He's a professor of business at NYU after a successful career. That's one of them. Then the other that's a little more life. And one of the things, and there's people that are listening to this, pounding the dash, saying, I hate that guy. I can't stand that guy. He definitely skews more towards the left. He's not a full core progressive, but he skews left. But one of the things that I really got me attracted to some of his life focus was how he would talk about young men and the plight of young men, and how he felt that a lot of folks in sort of his political alignment were ignoring the plight of young men, and that has started to come back in. And some of the advice that he gives to young men that ask questions, that are coming in or building their careers or building their lives, has been really insightful. He also can be remarkably sarcastic. He also can be very crude. And it is a delight for those of us that enjoy him, and probably a turnoff for those that don't.
Yeah, and that you don't like that kind of stuff. So it's funny that you...
I don't mean that he's, doing blue comedy or anything like that. He just will... I'm
talking about more of the sarcasm, because you're not a big sarcasm guy.
There's an element of it. I think if you heard it and described it. Oh,
yeah.
and
and things that you've shared with me, because you share things that he said. Yeah, I enjoy the things that you've told me. I'd probably enjoy listening to some of his stuff.
And I think what I enjoy too is the logic behind a lot of what he says, even when I disagree. And there are times that I disagree with him. There's a couple specific issues I emphatically disagree with him on. I still like the logic that he presents with it. The third one I didn't mention is an essay, which is kind of cool. He writes a newsletter, but then he has George Hahn read his newsletter. So it's kind of interesting to hear his words in someone else's voice.
All right. My next one is Juicy Scoop with Heather McDonald. So again, all of mine are in the entertainment realm.
You're learning from them too. They're educational.
They're educational for me. I enjoy them.
I've walked in on some education.
So, again, she is in the pop culture. I mean, that's what I enjoy listening to. So, she has guests on. Sometimes she'll just do a solo episode that's all pop culture. Hers I catch. She does twice a week. Sometimes I catch it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I go back and, I'll skip around. If it's people on her show that I don't really care for, I won't listen to it. She'll have interviews that she does also some crime stuff that sometimes are cases that, we knew growing up or
Oh, I didn't know
new
that
ones.
about.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, and she started a whole new segment called Juicy Crimes that focuses only on that. That's on her Patreon. If you don't know what that is, you have to pay for it, which I don't. But then sometimes she'll have some of those on her regular one too. So, that one's available wherever podcasts are available.
Well, and that like the number one category podcast, it still amazes me.
It's still, it's
it
still
is true crime.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it, but it also there's a very gender split to that as well. It's very interesting how true crime is the most popular podcast category, and it skews very heavily female.
Well, that was the first podcast that I listened to.
I'm noticing a theme. Men sleep with your eyes, one eye open. If your wife is into podcasts. All right, I'll go with another one, and it is in kind of the entertainment space, if you will, but it's more nostalgia, and it's Stuck in the 80s. It's a podcast, two guys. This is a podcast that will have different approaches to each episode.
Is it two guys?
Yeah.
Oh, huh.
They'll have guests that are perhaps from the 80s and nostalgia focus there. Their focus is very music oriented. So they'll have the former lead singer of Glass Tiger on. They will talk about, remember in 1987.
Who can name a song that Glass Tiger sang? We just heard one the other day.
Oh,
I know.
Immediately know.
I'm just
the
talking to our audience.
All right. Put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Tell us which Glass Tiger song is your favorite, because you pretty much know one or two.
I was going to say, there's probably only one or two. Yeah.
Sorry to the Glass Tiger fans that are out there. And just they would have an episode of the Lost Hits of 1983 and just go through some of those sorts of things. And it's fun to tap into that. They have a segment in there that's fun where they play, I want to get this right, I may get it slightly wrong, but they play a particular snippet of a song backwards. And then it's a contest to write in, comment in, if you can guess what that song is. I think they've done that with movies too. I know music, but and that's the primary one for sure. It's a fun podcast for us in this category.
Yeah. My next one is Drama Darling with Amy Phillips. Again, one that I've listened to for years. She started on Sirius and then went out on her own. Again, it's Bravo related. For those of you who know me, I watch pretty much everything on Bravo, and there's some really good new shows that have just come out recently. And so she does recaps, and she now has co-hosts that are fun as well. And so it's not a true just recap, because those kind of shows to me are just boring when they truly just recap the show. They banter back and forth about things. And then I also like she does some segments with a therapist. And so then they really deep dive into not only what's going on, but okay, what do you think is really going on with some of these people? And she branches off into some other shows that aren't necessarily Bravo and have some, really troubled people on them. So and she is a licensed therapist. So it's not, Amy's not, but the person who comes on who is the therapist. So it's interesting to listen to that person's perspective on it.
Can I ask you a question about that? I almost interrupt you there. Is there a risk in that? Like this therapist, and I'm using air quotes here, diagnosing what is seen on TV, which we know is crafted, segmented, it's partialed out to us. We don't really know the full context.
She doesn't diagnose them. She will say her thoughts on what is going on.
Okay.
She doesn't say they are this.
Got it.
I mean, and if she does, she obviously caveats it with all of the legal language.
Well, I'm not
even
talking about the legal part of it. Yeah.
And then I think it's her. One of them I listen to sometimes there's two lawyers who break down a lot of Bravo stuff. And if any of you watch Bravo, know that there are a lot of legal a few of them have been in jail. And so it's interesting to listen to them break down the legal side of things.
Oh my gosh.
So some of it is
Yeah.
educational as well as entertainment. So
Do
there-
not these things.
so it's interesting listening to those parts of it. But yes, Drama Darling with Amy Phillips, again,
Nice.
available where your podcast can be found.
Creator Science is the one that I will offer up next. It's by Jay Clouse. I came to know Jay through, not personally, although like all podcasts, I feel like I have a
Yes.
I have a
feel like
parasocial
we feel like
relationship
we
with
know
him. Yeah.
these people. Yes. Mhm.
Through his newsletter, and then came to come to understand his podcast. It's what it is, Creator Science. His is all about helping creators do better at their craft, whether it's business, whether it's non-business, entertainment, whatever that looks like. One of the things that I really value, because there's a ton of folks that are out there like that, there's something there's a deep sincerity that I perceive. Now, having paid attention for several years, you've watched his evolution, you've watched his growth. There's a revealing of his family life and his excitement about having their second kid born the sonogram. And there's just something that feels very authentic. And I realize that creators can edit, they can package, they can put things out into the public forum that may not represent them. There's just something about the way he teaches, he educates, and is willing to admit this didn't work that really attracts me. And so anyone who's wanting to know more about the creator business, he's a phenomenal podcast to listen to.
I think that's interesting that you bring that in, because the next one I'm about to talk to is So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey.
Mhm.
And it is interesting how, as time goes on, you do feel like you get to know these people, and
yeah.
you do feel like, because he just had a baby, his first baby. And he talked about how they had this whole birthing plan. His podcast is, again, another Bravo related.
This is the So Bad It's Good.
Yes, So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. Been doing it for years and breaks down Bravo shows, has guests on, interviews with Bravo people. He talked about they had this whole birthing plan and been with him through the whole, he's talked about the whole pregnancy, and then it just all went to pot. Like nothing went as planned.
What's the famous quote? Everyone has a plan until they're punched in the face.
Yeah. So it is interesting how you do feel like, and really, I would say him and Jeff Lewis, they really let you into their lives. Jeff really lets you into his life. Like, he does not hold back anything. He's gay and has gone through a terrible, they weren't legally married, but shared a daughter through surrogacy, and has gone through horrible legal things with his ex. And I mean, really shares a lot and probably overshares. And he does. He says that I overshare and it gets him into trouble. But, you really do feel like these people, and that if I saw him, and he would be totally fine if I saw him walking down the street, which he does come to Dallas some because the guy he's dating lives here, he would be totally fine. And he said, I love it when people come up to me. He treats his fans as friends and family. And so, yes, you do feel like these people, and I feel like we open up and share our lives as well. And depending on your podcast, I think to some degree that connects you with your audience.
Well, there's an intimacy of the audio medium. And I realize that you can consume this on video. There is something different, though, about that parasocial relationship that we think that we do know the talent. And yes, if I sincerely believe that if you saw Jeff Lewis on Oaklawn and you went to go say hi, there would be a very friendly greeting. In our minds, though, I think that friendly greeting would turn into, yeah, let's go and have drinks and let's go do all that kind of stuff. And it probably wouldn't, because to them, we're just a stranger. But to us, they're these voices that live intimately in our head, sharing their lives and their tales and their stories.
Yeah. if we were at the roundup and I bought him drinks, yes, he would be fine with that. Or if you did Fan Social, because he has a thing called they have a website Fan Social, then you can pay to take them out to dinner or
okay, well, we're going to talk about that. You're either going to learn how to pay to take out the loud quiet to dinner, because I like drinks and I like dinner. All right, I got one more. And, well, I actually have two more, because the second one is one that both of us. So I'll go there. Podcasting Morning Chat, although it has just recently been rebranded to Podcasting Morning Show. This is one that is taught or led by Mark Ronick, and now his group has grown, and I'm going to fail to name all the names. But it started with Mark, and it is a daily conversation about the podcasting industry. And for those of us in the podcasting space, it's really interesting, both the behind the scenes. I get a ton of news out of them. There's something that they have done in this podcast that have made it feel very community oriented. I only have listened to it.
Yeah.
But
I've joined in a couple of times. They have in the morning, you can actually be on this show and contribute and talk. It's a very interactive podcast.
And that's something they've done a great job. And it's daily. I still don't know how they do it daily.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful podcast for learning about the podcasting space. Now, little insider, kind of peeling back the curtain here for y'all a little bit. Clancy and I have volunteered our show to be critiqued on Podcast Morning Show. They do it once a week, where they listen to a podcast and then, in a kind but constructive criticism way, tear it apart. So when that comes out, we'll let y'all know what it is, so you can listen in on that.
No, I'm not going to let people listen to that.
I absolutely am, and that way you can see the greatness of the podcasting morning show.
Absolutely not. And Mark was our coach anyway, so he probably wants it to be critiqued very well. So, get high marks.
That's right. Well, we've got one more podcast that I want to talk about, and it's called Two Guys on a Plane. It's a husband and husband who are both flight attendants. So first of all, being in a couple, being both in flight attendants, different airlines, and they give the true tales of what, I forget exactly how they say it, but the true tales of what flight attendants are really thinking about on a flight. And it is certainly positioned to the audiences, primarily those that are in the industry. However, anyone that has any interest in the airlines, if you fly, if you travel a lot, it is a lot of fun. One that I really enjoyed was it's so funny. They said, we're going to talk about, the things that passengers are annoyed about flight attendants on, because a lot of times they talk about with passengers. Shocker. Well, each one of them, they pivoted it. Yeah, but here's why you're wrong, passenger. I got it. And not in a totally snarky way. They're just fun. It is informative if you care about that space. I really enjoy this one, Two Guys on a Plane.
And we met Rich, who is one of the guys. We met him at Podfest this year. So nice, so funny. And, it's funny because they actually met. He was working the flight and his husband was non-revving on it. If you don't know what that means, if you're a flight attendant, you get privileges to fly for free on airlines. And so, that's how they actually met, was he was non-revving on one of his flights. Yeah. So, but yeah, they have a neat podcast, and they've really built it into something. And I follow them on Instagram, so I see their reels and all their, and then they've even built it into these trips that you can go with them on these big, huge, they just got back from Thailand and several other places too. Yeah, it's just fun and entertaining.
I think their trips would be a blast. I don't know that I can handle their trips. That may be one that you just do a solo trip.
I don't want to be out till 3 in the morning either, but you don't have to stay out.
Oh, you know how it is. When you're out having fun, suddenly the clock disappears.
So those are the podcasts that we enjoy listening to. I'm sure you guys have ones that you are enjoying. We hope The Loud Quiet is on that list. If you're listening, then we know it is. So we'd love for y'all to share on the community group and let us know some of the ones that you like, and we'd like to check them out. So just head on over to the Facebook group and leave us a comment And we hope you enjoyed this episode of The Loud Quiet.